Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the DATEABLE podcast where we help everyone navigate the modern dating scene and what is going on in today's world of dating. And what is going on is that we are both negative from COVID.
Yeah, we're COVID
Thank
free.
God.
I did a little COVID free dance. Yue. You'd be proud of me.
Wait, you just did it or you did it before?
Well, I did it when
You
I
just
got
did
the
it?
negative test.
Oh, okay.
So,
No, okay. I thought,
yeah.
all right, good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sad you didn't record
You're like,
that
did
and
I
send it
miss
to me.
something? I missed
Did
it.
I miss?
You did it
Was
so
that
fast.
a shimmy or something?
You're like, were you doing that in your seat? No, I did it for my partner. He's told me that my weird side comes out for him. And I'm like, compared to Yue, I'm not weird at all.
Listen, weird is good. That's when
he
you're
loves it.
your
He
most
loves the
authentic
weirdness.
self. That's
I
when
was
you're
like,
most
I feel like if I
authentic.
told Yue that you thought I was weird, she would laugh because you're always like, I'm the weirder one of the two of us.
I think I'm like weirder, weirder as in I've come out as weird, but I think
I'm
I can totally see
closeted
it.
weird.
You're closeted weird. I think you have like, yeah, I think you have like these impulsive, weird tendencies that I haven't seen yet. But one of these days, I guess like when you had COVID, that's when it came out. Damn it, I missed it.
No, it's been long before COVID, but yes, I'm more closeted weird. It's all good.
I am so
do-
happy that we're both COVID free, though. That is like the best news
my
ever
God.
because that was pretty miserable. I mean, in hindsight, it wasn't that bad, but it was still fucking miserable.
I would say in hindsight, it wasn't terrible. Like, we definitely both got lucky in the cases, and I think COVID current day is a lot different than it was 2 years ago. So for that, I'm very grateful. Would I want to get it again? No.
Oh,
Like,
hell
it
no.
was definitely not like a fun experience. But was it like the worst thing ever? I've had like flus that are probably the same, and I'm not equating COVID to the flu because I agree. I think what it is now is very different than what it once was. And what's scary about it is you don't know how it's going to hit you. So I feel like there's a little bit of a relief that I'm like, oh, it didn't hit me that bad, but you just don't know. And that's what's terrifying to me.
It's so terrifying to know that there are like lasting consequences
Yes.
of it. So I'm
Yeah.
still kind of experiencing the congestion and I don't know, the mind fog, the brain fog. But I do feel also very lucky in the fact that I was able to have access to a drug, Paxlovid, which is a Pfizer drug that shortened my COVID positive period. So I tested positive on Monday. I tested negative by Friday. And then Saturday we tested again, were negative and got cleared by the doctors. And then we headed down to Coachella for a day and a half because we're the good Asians that didn't want to lose out on the money that we paid for Coachella.
Well, I'm sure that you were good and wore your mask the whole time because I know you would be that.
Well, the good thing about Coachella is that it is so fucking dusty there because it's a desert. Everyone wears a mask because you don't want to get that shit in your nose. So I did wear a mask, but I probably got worse symptoms from being at Coachella because of all the
I could see that.
the stuff that
I
was
saw
in
the best
environment.
Instagram that was like Coachella reality versus Instagram. And it was like, it did not look the same whatsoever.
Well, I'll caveat this by saying my experience was not my full Coachella experience. And this was my first one. So I definitely don't think this was a representative. But we were sober the whole time because we didn't want to worsen our COVID symptoms. I think Coachella would be awesome on drugs or on something where you don't feel the environment that you're in or you don't care about the crowd. But when you're fucking sober and tired and recovering from COVID, I think the crowd really gets to you.
Oh, I can imagine that like on a good day, even without COVID. That's why I avoid stuff like that.
I know. It's like I had FOMO because I'd never been to Coachella. There hasn't been a Coachella for 2 years. So this is the first one we were able to go to. And now we live in SoCal. It was so much easier for us to get to. Mm-hmm. And it was fun for what it was. And we made the best out of it. But I definitely don't think I had the full experience. And I can totally see where those memes come from because you get there and this is a crazy thing, Julie. Everyone's dressed up. You know, everyone's
Yeah.
got like full makeup and costumes and beautiful outfits and heels. And then you get there and you feel like you don't feel sexy in that environment. Okay. So like all the time you use to get ready, you have to spend almost an hour on the shuttle to get to the venue. And once you get to the venue, you spend like 20 to 30 minutes walking into the entrance. So by the time you're in, you're like, my feet are hurting. My makeup is melted. It's like 100 degrees. Yeah, it's definitely not what people see on Instagram, because I saw so many people carrying outfit changes and makeup wipes, because you just do it for the gram and then you like change it to your pajamas, I feel like.
You're like, this isn't actually what I wore to this festival at all.
No, some of the things that people wore, I'm like, you can't sit down in that. How do you pee in that? How do you wear a onesie with like a lace top on top of that and a belt? Like if you had to go pee, that takes you 30 minutes just to undress.
Oh my God. Well.
End of rant. End of rant.
I'm glad that you were still able to go. I'm glad that you'll be visiting next week and we can be reunited and we can not be scared of COVID because we're in the clear for at least a little bit. Just
It's
exciting.
funny. Don't you feel like you have like a cape or a superpower on? It's like, now we can go into the crowds and we can go to indoor dining, you know? Like, let's go to Ibiza. Why not?
I don't know. I feel like my COVID experience has not been nearly as exciting as yours. From the day that you got COVID,
I mean, it's not a bad
actually
thing.
going to Coachella. I'm like leaving the house for the first time this weekend, and I could not be more excited.
That's not a bad thing at all. You got your rest. You got your negative test results. And hopefully your partner will clear up soon too. And now you can be free.
That was an update. He got it 3 days later. I think last intro, I was like, oh yeah, he's at the clear. Nope, there's a delay.
There's a delay. Yeah, and the antigen test doesn't always pick up.
Yep.
In the earlier
so we got
days.
to be COVID buddies together.
the four of us. Virtually together. Oh.
I know. I feel like we've had so many convos with people, especially recordings. So the episode that we're about to bring to you today, we did in the midst of COVID.
Yes, we did.
We like caveat every guest during this time that we're like, hey, we had COVID. And I was doing the editing for last week's brunch talk. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, I sound bad. I'm like, I did not realize how bad I sounded in the recording. But on playback, I was like, my voice sounds so nasal. And I still feel like a bit congested now even. So please give us some grace. No Apple reviews of how bad we're speaking right now, please. Thank you.
We get a pass because we had COVID. But should we talk about erectile dysfunction?
There's no way to transition that, so let's do it. I'm so excited about this episode, actually, because I feel like, we dive into all modern dating. And, of course, sex is a big part of modern dating. And we talk about and think about the pleasurable side of sex. But there's also a lot of pressure that comes with sex.
So much.
And, we have a guest today, Dean, who wrote to us about this a while ago, actually. And, we are so backed up. We get so many submissions for stories, which is amazing. So keep them coming. Eventually, as proof by this, we will get to you eventually.
Yes.
And
we read all of them.
Yes. And I'm kind of glad, actually, we got to Dean a little later because he's in a totally different place, married now. And it's really actually exciting to hear about how he went through this journey and came out on the other side of it. So yeah, I think it's a really great topic. We underestimate how much pressure there is, especially for men in our society.
Yeah, and now's a good time for all of you at home to answer some of these questions. Think about this question. What does sex mean to you? Think about that for a second. And what are some of the things that have caused you anxiety, either before, during, or after sex? Think about that. Things that have caused you anxiety. And I can answer this personally. For me, as sex for a long time meant penetrative sex, and also the anxiety that was caused mostly due to performance anxiety. Was I performing at the level that I should be at? Was I pleasurable? Was I attractive enough for this person? And the anxiety after sex would be like, was that good for them too? Like, was it as good for them as it was for me? And will they call me again? So this is another anxiety.
Especially when you're in the midst of dating at early stages where you really just don't know, I think for me, especially with, coming into my current relationship, this was during the pandemic. I had broken up with my ex about a year, give or take, earlier. Was pretty celibate during that time from him to the new partner. And I was really freaking nervous. I think the COVID bod situation didn't help. The COVID-15, I definitely did not feel super confident. And, I had a lot of nerves going in that I hadn't had in the past. And I think some of that was, where I was at that moment of time. So it can change. I feel like even when you think that you're sexually confident, there may be times in your life that you get thrown for a little bit of a loop.
But that just proves the point that when you first start having sex with someone, or even one-night stands, everyone's just thinking about themselves. Right?
Yeah.
So much of that pressure is put on your own self. Of, am I performing enough? Do I look the certain way? Am I meeting their needs? When sex for the reproductive reason aside, sex should be pleasurable and fun. But for some reason, sometimes we remove that goal because we feel like the goal is to be this person, to be this like performative sex kitten when it comes to sex.
You know what's crazy too? I mean, who knows what it's like now, but I feel like when I first met my partner about a year ago in the midst of COVID, everything slowed down dramatically. And I remember sharing my insecurities with him on our third date, just being like, I kind of want to wait a little, and it's nothing to do about like our connection or anything with you. It's just where I'm at right now. And looking back on it, it's kind of crazy that like the third date would even be an assumption that you have to clarify that. Like I'd met this person, for like 3 hours beforehand. It just goes to show like how much like sex can be rushed in dating, that third date was the benchmark standard in a pre-COVID time. And I like, just making out with people on first dates, it's like you don't know these people at all. It's kind of nuts, like when you look back on it. I am curious how it is now. So listeners that are actively dating, definitely let us know. Like, are you feeling like people are resorting back to how it used to be? That the expectation is that you kiss again on the first date, you touch. All the stuff that kind of went MIA with COVID, is the third date still kind of the standard go-to, or have people, slow down because of the world that we're still in? Clearly, the pandemic is still not over. We are still getting COVID.
That was my initial reaction when I watched The Ultimatum. I am going to bring back the show again because they filmed that show in the middle of COVID. Nobody's wearing masks. They're making out with everybody. They're actually going out to clubs when the cameras are off and bringing back those germs. I was like, how come nobody got COVID during this time? And they were all like sledding it up.
I remember actually during COVID going on a date with someone. We went to a park and then he asked to use my bathroom after.
Oh, yes.
And him coming in hot for the kiss. And I was so, turned off by it because it was just way too invasive of personal space in the world of COVID. And, pre-COVID, I probably would have totally embraced it. And I remember him like being like, should we take this to the bedroom? And just being like, what the fuck is happening? And just being like, no. And I think there was a huge shift of just the way we view germs, the way we like look at all this stuff.
Yeah, it makes you pause before you kiss someone now. Is it worth it? I think that's a question. Is this germ exchange going to be worth my time and worth the risk of catching something? And maybe most of the time the answer is no, it's not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. That's probably how both of our partners got COVID. You know, that's like the way that it's going to catch the fastest. I mean, maybe just from talking too, but as soon as you're in for a kiss, it's over. I feel like if you have COVID, it's like your saliva is there.
My partner and I both caught COVID during a breathing meditation, so I did not give it to him.
Well,
but
more
yes,
because there was a delay. But yeah, he probably got it from the breathing meditation. So many people said that story. It was so funny.
Sure. Yes, he for sure. He was also opening his mouth and breathing from his womb, okay, during this time. So there's no way he escaped that COVID meditation.
But yeah, no, I think revisiting what sex means, especially in this point of where we are in the world and what COVID has done for sexual interactions and even kissing, right? I think it's important to think about what does it really mean. I feel like we did so freely give that away for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, maybe people will come out and still say, like, I don't actually hold it to have that much of a meaning. I think everyone is very different on how they view sex. But doing these episodes, at least for me, makes me pause a bit more. Even last week's episode with Sydney, her sharing how she was like a virgin until 27 and how she viewed sex. And I think about like Kat Harris, the episode we did, who's still holding on to her virginity, just how much thought she put into what sex means. And I think for me, like, I haven't given it as much thought. I give a lot of other things thought, but I feel like sex is not given as much thought. And I love doing these episodes because it reminds me that just like everything else with modern dating, it deserves to have that beat to really reflect on.
So true. It deserves that intention. That's what intentionality is about. And for so long, we were doing things without intention, and therefore we don't get the result that we want at the end, right? That's what causes all that dating anxiety. So it's good to, I agree, like these episodes, especially this episode, will help you all not just to think about erectile dysfunction. Yes, that's part of the story, but I think the ultimate learning is, what do we want from sex? What is our intention from sex? And how do we want to enjoy that time with our partners? It's more important than, am I performing or am I getting it up?
Yeah, and how to navigate when things don't go as planned, because it's bound to not go as planned, whether it's on your side or your partner's. It's something that is good to get ahead of, even if you're not in the current situation.
For sure.
Cool. Well, we will leave it at that because we have a whole episode to go into it. Some quick announcements this week. Make sure to check out Brunch Talk, which is our new installment every Sunday. We also have a sex-related topic this week. I'd say maybe the opposite of today's episode, but I'll leave it at that and leave the anticipation to grow, and people could check that out and listen. But I think it's going to be a relatable one for many people.
It's also about dicks. There. That's enough.
We got to leave it at that. We got to leave some mystery.
Yes.
And then share this with a friend. That is the best way to pay it forward. Pay it forward to us for, our time doing this podcast and continuing to bring these guests. And then also for all your friends out there that could learn and gain the knowledge that you all have by being dateables. So share it with a friend, especially if they're going through something related to the topic of today. This may affect people and be just what they're looking for. Yep. And then finally, follow us on Instagram. That will be our last announcement today, @DATEABLE Podcast.